We here at the Center for Hope know that the best thing we can say about the center is nothing at all. The families of our patients sharing their experiences is what really tells the story.
In January of 2020, so a year ago, my mom was admitted to Overlook Hospital with the flu that became pneumonia. And then when they tested the fluid in her lungs, they determined it was metastatic breast cancer. So she received at that time a diagnosis of less than 6 months to live. We knew that she couldn't go home and be by herself anymore because she had been living independently prior to that.
I'm a friend of Dan, who was brought to the center after about 5 years struggle with cancer. And he was in a facility that just couldn't accommodate him, and hospice really took him in, helped his symptoms, and made him feel wanted, which was, I think, really remarkable for any, I'll say, institution.
That's kind of when we realized that without my dad really saying it, he didn't want to continue his treatment. But again, what did that look like? Prior to me coming home to Jersey, I actually, my mom was the one who said, I want to look at some places. Center for Hope always came up because she drives by it all the time when she would take my dad to treatment, and it was so close, and she said it looked nice. But what does that look like in this time of the pandemic?
My name is Beth Lally, and my mother was a recent patient at the Center for Hope. She broke her arm in the fall and was 94 years old. So she lived a good long life and was always a healthy person, but the break threw her for a loop. And after a few months, she rehabbed okay, but she just was declining. And when I could see that, her health was declining, but I didn't think it was an issue of if I put her in the hospital, it wasn't going to make things better. It was just her time. And we had talked about hospice, at other times in our life. And actually my dad was a patient for one whole day, 12 years ago at the center. So, I knew, that it was time to get you guys involved again. And all it took was one phone call, and one of your, people that comes and evaluates, the nurse came by and, said she was ready. And it was honestly that easy to get her enrolled and really kind of wrap everything up with one phone call. I got, we were able to get, the hospital bed delivered as soon as possible, and everything that we would need was delivered to the door. We did a little rearranging of furniture and made, her bedroom, her new comfortable place. And so that's how we got involved. We were grateful.
My her mind slowly went away as she was there. But there were moments when she was in and out. So the weekend before St. Patrick's Day, and we're Irish, we sat in that living room area, and her favorite nurse was working that day. And my mom sat there and sang Irish songs all afternoon. And she wasn't a good singer or anything, but she was happy. And she was happy in her environment. She, the living room environment felt like home to her. The nurse was her best friend. They were making Irish soda bread. I mean, and that struck me as the normalcy of life at the end of life.
Yeah, so I'm so glad Dan went to you guys. I think the couple of things that really stood out for me was that he had his own personal room, his own personal bathroom. That was special. There was a place that we could go to that had greenery, and so we kind of tooled into that little room and had many like visitations there. This is going to sound pretty like trite, I think, and I'm almost embarrassed to say it in a way, but we would enjoy that wonderful coffee machine that you had in the kitchen there, and so it became an event, right? I mean, it surely was not the big deal coffee, but in some ways it became the big deal coffee because there were options. It was sweet. His brother would even talk about the coffee, and we'd bring it back to Dan's room and sit and relax. But our enjoyment of coffee made it more, I'm going to say, like home, like what you would do at home. You'd have a cup of coffee, you'd sit, you'd put your feet up from the recliner chair to the bed, and you'd listen to music or watch television. And, so I think as silly thing as that sweet coffee, even his brother, we used to talk about how nice that was. So it's kind of strange how some things stick out in your mind, but they make a difference. They made a difference in our time with Dan there. That's what I can say. I'm sure the hospice has donors, many donors, probably, hopefully. But I just wanted to say thank you to them, because I believe without that support, Dan would not have been able to be in the hospice and have had such a wonderful experience in the last days of his life. So thank you.
And that was the feeling I had every day, that whenever I left, I was able to talk to a nurse or talk to the aide, and, because the way I am, I had to be a little controlling to say, I want to make sure that mom, has to get this pill, or, as if I needed to tell them, or, remember she has to have her food cut up in little pieces. And, I didn't need to do that because the aides were always feeding her if they needed to be fed, whatever. But they never made me feel like I was telling them something that they already know. But their level of comfort in helping me and my siblings through the whole process of what's to be, what will be, that especially like if we were worried my mom was feeling pain, that they would assure us that this is what she's feeling now. And, if she's anxious, this is what she needs. It was just a level of love that was pretty unusual.
That the relationship that he developed with one of the nurses was very special. With the receptionist was very special, and also one of the aides. And he would say to me, "She knows what I need before I even ask, and she brings it." So those are really special qualities that go beyond, I think, professional care. They make it professional and personal, and it was felt by my dear friend Dan.
So I think I had a good expectation rather than believing that everybody was just going there to die. So I think I may have had a different expectation than some, but I would say that the support, as I saw the patients there, they were at various stages. So some people, you wouldn't have even known they were ill, to be honest. And the support from volunteers, from the staff, from chaplains, from all of it is amazing.
I would just say, just so grateful and so appreciative of the care, the manner in how things are handled. Not once did I feel like I was a number. Not once did I feel like, oh, they're just trying to get money from me, or they're trying to, take something from me. Everything came from a caring space.
Everybody was so kind. The nurse was absolutely unbelievable. The aides that came in and helped bathe my mother, they couldn't have been sweeter and more professional. And I was, sometimes you don't like to give up control, but they let that they let me help them, because I think that made me feel better, and they knew that too.
I walked into the room of an elderly man, and he was sitting slumped in his wheelchair, and he was gruff and grumbly. And I introduced myself. And after I told him my last name, he told me that he could talk to me because he was an Irishman too. So we had a good laugh about that. And we chatted for a while. And he said to me, the only thing that would make me happy right now is a Stewart's hot dog and a root beer. And I looked at him and I said, that's all you want is a Stewart's hot dog and root beer? And he said, oh, please. I said, I'll be right back. I went out to the nurse's station and told the nurse that this is what this gentleman had requested. Was he allowed to have it? Because I wanted to make sure that his diet and swallowing was not an issue. And she said, sure. And I said, I'm leaving now to go to Stewart's. I'll be right back. I walked in with a large root beer, a hot dog. Oh, he told me he wanted the works on his hot dog too. That was another thing. And onion rings, because he liked onion rings. And he started to cry when I walked in with it, because he thought that I had left and nobody had gone to visit him since he had been there. And the fact that I came back with something that he wanted, it made my day. I remember that just so well. And then I just remember another time where I spoke with a woman for a really long time, and she said to me, if only my son would come and visit me. I haven't seen him in 6 years. And we talked about her son, and we listened to stories all about him. And I said, well, would you like to call him? And she said, oh, no, dear, I don't want to disturb him. I don't want to disturb you. I said, let's try. She had this tiny little notebook in her pocketbook filled with tons of tissues with telephone numbers on it. We found his number. We called him. He was at work. He didn't even know his mother was at the hospice center. And he started to cry on the phone. Oh, it was absolutely unbelievable. We had a really nice conversation. And that Sunday, I met him at the center. He came from Massachusetts. And to me, it was like a family reunion. I sat there and cried while the two of them sat there, like just hugging. But he had no idea that his mother was there. She went right from the hospital to hospice because she had nobody at home. I mean, there are a million things. Calling to make a haircut appointment for somebody and the hairdresser coming to visit. I mean, we take for granted so much. And you know what? At this time, there is so little we can do for these people. We need to go out there and do it. I mean, that's our gift to them. I mean, because I've heard wonderful stories. I've lived their lives with them. It's just a blessing to be able to sit and listen, to offer comfort, companionship when they need it the most.